talk about the unseen burdens that women in leadership have to bear, right? Because I know a lot of times, especially when you are a woman operating in those lead positions, that itself comes with a lot of pressure. It can definitely come with a lot of stress. And you not knowing how to deal with that, or even if you feel like I'm doing an okay job with having to deal with it, but you're knowing that you're not operating at your full potential. And I work with a lot of clients, and I'm seeing, especially over the last 6 months, that people are just tired. How you feel is going to affect how you work. And it doesn't matter if you feel like, oh, I'm doing okay. But what are the effects of when you are operating in the I'm okay mode, but you're not understanding that there are some things in the back end that's not allowing you to operate in a way that you know that you could. It's so important for you to understand that you deserve to thrive. Now, what thrive looks like is not going to look like the same for everybody else. How you feel is going to affect how you work. How you work is going to affect how much you're paid. And so all of this plays into a really big sphere, and they all are aligned. So the first thing I want to talk about is the first burden, right? Is the labor that you may experience that other people don't see. Because there is a level of work and there is a level of labor that you as a woman. Now, I don't want to hear from no men that saying, yeah, I'm a man too. This ain't about you, okay? This isn't about you. This is not to say that you don't experience things, but I am specifically talking about women in leadership positions. There is a level of labor that people do not see that you do. There are a lot of different roles that we play. We're a wife, mom, friend, aunt, all of those things. But there's still a level, even outside of all of that, that you do that most people cannot see. And just because they cannot see the labor that you do does not mean that you do not feel the effects of it. And I think that's what happens a lot of time when you find yourself having to work so much and put forth so much just of yourself. And you feel like a lot of what you do is not seen. You usually don't get any kind of reward for that at all. Why? Because it's not seen. You hear a lot of times with either like a wife or a mom or anybody, when it comes to us being a woman, they will ask us, how is it that you can just do it all? Men usually don't get that kind of response. It's usually the women that are like, we hear, how is it that you can get everything done? Because usually it's the weight of us feeling like we have to get everything done. And I think that kind of a mindset, thinking that you got to get everything done, that leads you into a downward spiral, right? I'm always talking about, I don't agree with the concept of that you wear a lot of different hats. And so I think it's important to understand that even when you feel like you can get everything done, what are the effects of that? What is the result of that? And this is why, even when I coach my clients, I help them with being able to advance their career. But a lot of what I teach, in the core of what I teach, is holistic success, being able to understand that every part of your life is aligned and should work as one. Because if one part of your life, I can guarantee you, friend, it is affecting every other part of your life, whether or not you feel like it is. Because even if you feel like things are at work are good, but when things at home are not, right? You bring that with you to work because it's one head and it's one mind. But just because you shut something off or shut off a certain emotion or you numb yourself to certain feelings, it does not mean that the effects of that is not still being shown forth. And this is why I talk a lot about you can only go as far as you grow. And when you start to see yourself as one whole, when you start to see yourself as, yes, I may have to deal with a lot of roles in my life, but it's still one me. When you start understanding that there's only one heart, there's only one mind, there's only one of me, then you'll start to give yourself a lot more grace and you'll start to give yourself a lot more focus than you do now, because that is what's key. You got to be able to understand that you cannot shut yourself on and off like you feel like you can, because the effects of the weight that's there is going to show forth. And let me tell you something, friend. No judgment. I promise. No judgment. I have been there. And even now, I own my own business for almost 5 years. I myself have to be really careful of the weights that I wear or the things that I say yes to, right? High achievers, right? Feeling like we can do everything. I can do it all, right? But that comes with a downside. A lot of times that comes with a downside of us not really acknowledging a lot of the times where we are, because we're just in the mode of I can do it all. Now, I do believe that you can have it all. Yes, I do. I believe that having the understanding that you can have it all, it just comes with you being able to just prioritize things as they should be, and being able to understand the different seasons in your life and being able to understand what needs you most at this time. But when you're one that feel like you can do it all, it's very hard to switch on and off like that, meaning to switch the focus, because you have trained yourself to be like, I can do everything. But what happens is that leaves you in a constant state of survival mode, that leaves you in a constant state of burnout mode. And what happens is that you start to almost not even really know who you are anymore, right? Because you have shut that side of you off, because the focus is get stuff done, rather than you knowing that the more that you take care of you, the more you're able to take care of other things. I didn't say take care of everything. And when you've been operating in survival mode for so long, everything feels urgent. Everything feels like it needs you. Everything feels like it's something that I have to give my full focus to, right? Because all you are thinking about is, I just have to get through this. You're not thinking about what are the effects of me having to run on fumes, but all you're thinking about is, I just got to get this stuff done, right? Because I'm the one who can do everything. Not understanding the cost that comes with that, because it comes with the cost. What is the habit that is being formed there? What is it that you are teaching yourself in the midst of all of this? Because every day as you operate through life, even how you respond to different things, even how you think about things, you are training yourself in some kind of way. When you're always on a go mode, you are training yourself, right? You are training yourself to not acknowledge how you feel, and you are training yourself to not acknowledge what you need. Because we've been taught, I say we, right? Because I've had to break my mindset from this. We have been trained that what we need is what we think about last. That can wait. Or even some people can even feel almost selfish if they think about themselves. You're not understanding that you thinking about what you need is not selfish. It's like, okay, I need to know what is it that I need in order to show up and best serve at work, and to also best serve at home, and to also best serve with my spouse and my kids. So it's not selfish, it's strategic. You got to start seeing yourself as one person, as one whole thing, right? One heart, one mind, one body. And when you start seeing yourself like this, you being able to take care of yourself, or even having to think about what you need, or even having to think about your expectations, is no longer something that you'll just find time to do. It's now something that you have to do, because you understand that I have to know these things to make sure that I can operate with purpose, that I can be strategic in how I operate, that I can be intentional with how I operate, because I understand what I need. Let's break free from all of that, because it's going to ooze down into every area of life. A lot of times you can't show up the way that you want to, or even feel like the way that you want to feel at work, because again, you start to just shut down certain parts of you. And when I have to coach my clients, I'm always like, okay, let's get to the root of things, because I am not about you just trying to change a job. I'm about you having to change you. You being able to make sure that you are the person that you need to be in order to support the goals that you have. Because that's the real win, right? We have been in a society to where we believe that the win is just getting the goal. But no, the win is you being able to operate in a position to where you don't lose yourself when you get the things that you want, because you understand that it's not just about the goal, it's about who is the person that you need to be in order to sustain the goal. And this is why I talk a lot about being able to, yes, be successful in what you do. Yes, you being able to thrive in your work and at home and with your family and friends. But I also talk a lot about you being able to know what you want, because that burnout can also come from you not being clear on what you want. And when you are not clear on what you want, you give the power to other people around you to decide what you want for you, because you haven't really gotten clear on what you want. And so a lot of times when you find yourself starting to feel maybe exhausted in your mind, or just starting to feel like, you know what it is, I can guarantee you it's because you have not gotten clear on what you want. You having to sit and think about what you want, you having to be able to understand where you are now and what you need in order to move forward. And you also being able to understand what is working for you and what's not working for you. Because if you can just know that something, like you can feel, okay, this don't work the way that it should work, right? But have you gotten clear on why this does not work? Because if you haven't gotten clear on why this doesn't work, you're going to keep finding yourself in the same place over and over again. This is why I said I coach my clients and I teach them how to advance in their career in a way that is going to be strategic. But a lot of it has to do with you being able to plan out a career that's going to align with the life that you want. Because what's the point of you being able to go out and land a great opportunity, but it doesn't allow you to live the life that you want? That is where that burnout comes from. You feeling frustrated, you feel stuck, and all the other kind of stuff. It's simply because you have not gotten clear on what you want. The next thing that I really want to talk about is when you are a woman, you happen to operate in these lead roles. Most people don't understand or even see how much of a support system you are, right? You don't even know how much of a support system you are, meaning you're not even aware of how many people's needs and wants hangs on you, how much people pull from you. And so when you are not aware of that, you'll find yourself in a place to where you give a lot more than what you actually have. You find yourself having to pull out of a bank or out of a storage more than you have put in. Because again, you're just always in a mode of I can help this one. And you don't understand that you have way more withdrawals than you do deposits. And so now you pull from nothing. And so when you start to pull from nothing, then you start to feel that, okay, I'm starting to feel frustrated. I'm starting to get irritated. And you'll think that you're getting irritated with them. When I say them, whoever it is that needs something from you, but it's not them. In most cases, it's never about them. In most cases, it's about you. It's about the fact that you stretched yourself too thin. And I've been there, because when you have a level of pride, right, about yourself, it can be hard to admit, wait a minute, I didn't bit off a lot more than I thought I was able to chew. So when you see yourself as being that support system for everybody else and you are not able to get what you give a lot of the times, now it turns into this, oh, I do this for everybody else who's now going to do something for me. But again, I'm all about you being able to acknowledge that this has happened, not because I've been done so wrong, but it's simply because I have not been able to voice what it is that I need. And I have not been able to set the right boundaries where they should be. Being able to hold yourself accountable is a powerful thing, because it robs you from the opportunity of always feeling like a victim, of feeling like things are being done to you. But when you say, hold on, I'm all the way out here, not because of this person or that person. I'm all the way out here because I lost me. I got so focused on the grind and things of that sort that I did not go back to my why. Because in the midst of the stress, in the midst of when you're having to hold up so many different things, is that why that's going to almost center you back. And like I was saying before, when you think about, you having to be that support system for other people, it's all about you learning how to set boundaries without feeling guilty. That's the key. Can you train yourself to set the right boundaries and not feel guilty about it? because you can feel like you're doing something wrong. And that ain't the case. You and I see a lot of people, even when they think about having to set boundaries, they think about it in the wrong way. When you set a boundary is for you, a boundary is saying, I'm going to put this in place so I won't X, Y, and Z. Meaning I will get clear on how many hours a day I will work. You start setting these particular things in place because it's not about them, it's about you. It's about you being able to know at what point should something stop? At what point should you hold back on something? On understanding how far to go with certain things. That's the power of you being able to set these. It's not about the other person, it's about you. Again, it always goes back to me. What is it that I can do to make sure that these things don't happen this way? What are the things that I need to have in place to make sure that I can keep my mind right and my heart and my thoughts right? Again, holding yourself accountable is a powerful thing because it gives you back that control that you feel like you've lost. And that feeling of you, I've lost the control, comes from you not setting boundaries. Sometimes you even have to set them within yourself. You even have to say, okay, because I do all the time. I'm like, Lord, for one, I feel like I can do everything, right? But say, okay, all right, let's stay focused. What is happening in this season? What is the goal of this season? Right? What do you need at this season? What is it that you don't need right now? And being able to, again, bring yourself back to your why. And this is so important, especially with you being in a lead position and you having to lead other people. If you can't lead yourself, what are you leading the people around you to? What are you leading the people in your home to? What are you leading them to? If your mind feels all over the place, right? Because what happens is that you breathe that wherever you go. And it's not that you're trying to, it's just that's just where you are right now. I talk a lot about personal growth because that is where it is. You being able to understand, okay, where is it that I need to rise up in? And again, it's not saying that something's wrong with you. This isn't a wrong or right thing, right? But it's about a real thing. What is really going on right now? And what is it that you really need? You can't even think about what's next for you if this is burnt out. You can't even think about what is the next plan or the next move or the next strategy when this is stretched too thin. You can't even think about it because now it's not about, okay, I need to set goals. I really need to think about what's next for me. It's time to move up. It's time to advance. It's time to grow. All you're thinking about is what can I do to just get through this day? When you're operating in survival mode, you can't even think about what things could be for you in the next 6 months. You're like, it's 9:30. I'm thinking about this evening, right? This is why it's so important. And it's so amazing how, as a society, I think, especially the last year, I think everybody I talk to is like, I'm tired. I'm just tired. Because a lot of people are just in that mode right now. I just got to get through. And I do understand there are certain seasons that come with more weights than we would have thought. So it's not saying that you're going to always be operating at 100%. What it is saying, and I want you to think about, is how long do you allow yourself to operate in this kind of a mode? I think that's the real thing is how long have I been operating like this? Especially if you are one where when it comes to your career, you desire to make an actual impact and you desire to serve with your skills and to drive change. Understanding that, for one, you need time to think, you need time to be creative. And it's so hard to be creative when you are in grind mode. It's so hard to be creative when you are in burnt out mode. I talk about a lot of times how if you can bring forth the results that you do now, burnt out, think about the results that you can bring forth when you are thriving, right? When you are operating at your best. Think about that. Because I think what deceives us high achievers sometimes is that we can still bring forth results that ain't bad. But think about if you are operating at 100%. When I say 100%, meaning you're thriving, you feel good, you think good. Think about it when you're operating at that level, what kind of results you can bring forth then. Just think about what kind of creativity could be unlocked then. Thinking about that, understanding that you being able to be in a place to where you're not burnt out, to where you have not lost yourself, is a necessity to the actual influence, impact, and the income that you want to make. So this goes beyond just taking some kind of PTO day off. This is about you being able to think about what is it that I need to restructure in my life, thinking about how is it that you can pour back into you. What have I obligated myself to that I never should have obligated myself to in the first place? And that takes you having to think about all of you and to think about like you operate as a machine, meaning every function, every part, it really does align. My next point is wanting to talk about that trap of unrealistic expectations. What has that done? It can almost have you in a mind to feel like I got to do everything just right. I got to do everything just perfect. Even though your mind is telling you, child, you don't had enough, you feel in your body saying that you have had enough, but it's still this desire and this drive that I got to do more. I got to do more. I got to do more. But I think it's so important to understanding that you trying to strive from that can only last so long. And it's point to where you start to feel that sense of "Ugh, I'm just not enough." Because that feeling of I'm not doing enough eventually leads to I'm not enough. The question to ask yourself is what is enough? What is the standard for you? What is the line of enough? And has that standard and has that line been defined by you or has it been defined by somebody else? That's the question, right? At these standards, these expectations, these rules that I've placed on myself, where have they come from? Because me, I get mine from the Lord. And I'm constantly having to reshift those. I'm constantly having to take inventory on what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking and making sure that it aligns with my values, it aligns with my beliefs, because it's so easy, especially when you are in environments that are not in alignment with your goals and your values. It's so easy that they start to shift and to almost conform to the environment that you're in. And that's how you look and be like, "Well, child, where, how did I get here? Who am I? What are my goals? What do I believe?" You almost start to almost doubt everything. And that's just simply because you started to conform your values and your beliefs to the environment around you. And the environment, it never was for you in the first place. Really big on you being intentional because everything rides on it. And as we lead into the next part, we're talking about what are those hidden costs? What are those hidden costs of the burdens that you may have to wear and those high standards that we will place on ourselves? Like, what does all of that lead to? A lot of times for most people, at least to you not being able to give the focus or the attention on what you really care about. Because it's one thing to operate in something, it's another thing to really care about what you do. And that's why I do believe that the work that you do needs to mean something to you. You don't have to be on, oh, this is a passion I've had my whole life. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that you have to get to a point to where I believe that you need to work in something that means something. Why? Because you spend so much time in it. You spend so much time in what you do. It's important that it means something because you can only be fully engaged in something that means something. It doesn't have to mean the world to you, but it needs to mean something. Because when you find yourself having to work on something or work in something that you really don't care about, the values that you have isn't really aligned in it, you find yourself almost being a robot because it's just, I just got to get this done. And that's the focus is I just got to get this done. And again, you operating as that robot then turns into survival mode only because the work that you do doesn't mean anything to you. And it may have once meant something to you, right? But again, what happens is a lot of times that you change what you want, it changes. But you never sat down and saw the change. You never sat down and thought about why is it I'm feeling this way? Because you changed and what you want has changed. But if that change goes unacknowledged, now you start feeling like, girl, what's the problem? You have a good job. You are being paid well. You should be happy. Then that thought of just be grateful for what you have starts to come into play. Yeah, you definitely should be grateful for sure. But you can be grateful about something and also understand that it's time to move on from it. But if you don't give yourself the capacity to even understand what is happening to you right now, you'll just start going through the everyday routine of life. And then you'll be like, oh my God, 5 years have passed by. What happened? Why? Because I've just gotten so used to, I know how to get home. I really don't even have to think about it. And so I'm thinking about other things and I don't even have to really think about me driving home. And so I literally was on autopilot the whole time, thinking about other things. That's how it can happen in your career. You just there every day, things are good. You're operating in this mode. You can probably do your job with your eyes closed. And then you wake up in this 5 years, you're like, wait a minute, what has happened? And that comes from you not being able to understand that it's a whole you there because that's what it's about. What actually is being created in you? Like the goal just can't be, oh, find a new job. I can make this much money. The goal got to be like, what is happening internally in me? That got to be the goal because that is where that fulfillment comes from that you seek. Not saying all of it, but that is where that level of no, it got to be something more. Why? Because it is something more. And this is why I say, as far as your beliefs, what I believe in is God. And so allowing, again, my beliefs and my values that have been established because of what I believe in, letting that be reflected in every area of my life, because that is what it is about for me. That is what it's about. It being reflected in every area of my life. And that does take me understanding that what once worked for me may not work no more. And being able to understand that there is a difference between you failing at something and you moving on from something. A lot of people cannot understand that there's two different things that's happening, but for some people, it can feel the same. That when it's time to move on, you feel like you failed. But when you think about failing at something, it means that I did not give the result that was supposed to come forth. But also, again, it goes back to your expectations and your standards. Well, what was the result? What is the expectation? I'm really big on setting the expectations, right? When you're thinking about that next move in your career, what is the expectation? Because without a expectation, you leave yourself to chance. You leave yourself to just accept things as they are. And without a expectation, you cannot be intentional. And if you cannot be intentional, you sure can't be strategic. So do we see how all of these things align as once? Because it got to be more than just that. Even how I create the offers that I do and even serve my clients. This is about you and what you want. This isn't about you trying to squeeze into being some fit. This is about you being able to find out what fits you, what works for you. Why? It should be mandatory because, especially when you think about your career, friend, you spending 8, 9, 10 hours, some of y'all spending 12 hours a day in this thing. Why would you want to operate in something for so long? You give yourself so much to this aspect of your life and not be intentional, not be clear about this area of your life because it demands so much of you. It demands too much of your mind, of your time, of your skills to not be clear on this and to not make sure that it's going to allow you to live the life that you want. When I talk about allowing you to live the life that you want, yes, when it comes to you being paid, you should absolutely be paid well. You should be paid for the results and the skill set that you have. Absolutely. But that's not the only thing that I mean. Is it allowing you to spend time with the people or the things that you love? Is it allowing you to reflect the values and the beliefs that you have? I don't think that you should get all of your fulfillment from work. I think when you put any of your worth or who you are on your job, that's a very fragile thing because your job is something that can change in a moment and you don't have control over that. But what I do believe is that because you spend so much time in it, right, it needs to be something that is thought out. If you don't know what you want, people will tell you what you want. And then you find yourself spending years having to build something that you never wanted in the first place. So I'm huge on being clear. I'm huge on you being strategic. And I am huge on your well being. 100%. Because they are supposed to work as one. And I really believe that you can't have one unless you have all of them. When you are a woman having to operate in these lead roles that comes with that, you end up in a place to where you're like, okay, I have to lead. I gotta show up. I gotta do. No, what you need to do is take care of you. Getting back to you. Because I asked you before, do you believe that you can have it all? I asked you that. I believe it, but I believe that doesn't happen by chance. And that also happens when you are clear on what does all mean. Because what all means for me may not mean the same for you. For me, all means I can homeschool my child, I can operate full time, then I got time for church, I got time for my husband, right? And I can have enough resources to support that. Now, all for you may mean something different, but that's what it means for me. So, all for me is not saying a huge jet. Pray if you want a jet, boo, you get you a jet. I'm talking about for me, that's not what it means for me. So, yes, I do believe that I can have it all, but I also know one, in order to have it all, there are some things in me that will have to grow. There are some things in me that will have to change. It will come from me being intentional about my life, not just allowing things to fall as they will. So you are definitely in that place to where you are ready. Find yourself not saying that you're lost, but you need to get clear on where you are so you can be clear on where you want to go. Send me a DM and let's chat. But overall, I need you to be able to understand that being able to be clear on what's working for you. And I will say this, do not get deceived by applauses. Do not be deceived because things are working. Do not be deceived because everybody else around you is happy with what you do. Don't be deceived by that because you can get applause and it's not working for you. You can be being paid well and it's not working for you. You can be experiencing all of the success and it doesn't work for you. Own that. There is no shame and guilt that, hey, I'm really good at this, but it don't work no more. Hey, I know that my team loves me to death, but it don't work for me no more. And not just, oh, I have to run away because it don't work. No, my friend, remember, intentionality is what we are about. Purpose is what we are about. So let's get clear on what works, why it does not work anymore. How long has it not worked for? Because sometimes when something does not work for you, it does not mean that it's time to go. Sometimes it could just be like it's time to grow because I don't believe in using new jobs as band-aids. You thinking that if I just get a new position, if I just advance, then all of these things or concerns that I have are just going to automatically leave me. I just don't even set yourself up for that because that's not true. What I am about is you understanding where you are. Where are you really? And then being able to get clear on where you are, own where you are. Because for some clients that I work with, again, I work with women that are high up in their career. Like they got the results, the successes, and the receipts, and they've done well. But sometimes it can be hard for them to own what they want. I had a client that I worked with, and she said she was sharing with me like all the ways that she wanted to operate in her skills and things of that sort. And I said, "Oh, this sounds like a function of a VP." And she was like, "Yeah." And she said like really low. I said, "What's the problem?" She said, "Yeah, I think that's what I want. Own it." But for her being able to own it out loud, she made herself to believe that if I own this out loud, it was almost a fear of, can I be that? Sometimes you can feel like if I own what I want and I just own it, but I actually own it out loud, can I reach this expectation of what this needs? And I had to remind her, which I do all my clients. One thing, if you work with me, one thing that we will do is we will deep dive into your background and not to find out what's wrong, but find out what's there, what's solid. Because a lot of times you've made so much impact in your career, you have no earthly idea the impact that you hold, the true successes that you have, the true results that you've brought forth, and even how you add so much to the companies that you work with. You have no earthly idea because it's almost like you have just downplayed what you do. so much that it's hard to accept that, yes, you did this. And a lot of times you did it with minimum resources, with hardly any help. You did that, but it's hard to own it. And when you get into the habit of just minimizing what you do, you'll almost have that lens, right? That is the lens that you see everything that you do. It's little. Oh, we did this. Did y'all really do it? Was this really a team effort? If it was a team effort, cool, friend. It was a team effort. But was it really a team effort? Or do you feel obligated to always give that praise to everybody else so you don't make them feel uncomfortable? Was this really a team effort or was it done by you? What we're not going to do is we're not going to stick we on everything when it wasn't a we. It was your idea, right? You did save that particular project. You did it. But don't stick a we on there to make people feel comfortable that we can make you feel like you got to shrink so your expertise it won't overshadow them. That's not what this is about. It's not about you trying to over anybody. It's about you owning what you bring to the table, regardless of who's in the room. If they feel a way about what you bring forth, that's not your problem. You should have never made that your problem, how your results and your accomplishments make other people feel. What they got to do with you? They got nothing to do with you. Nothing. That's them and how they feel insecure. So, with my clients, we are deep diving into your background. When you leave me, you're going to know explicitly the impact that you bring to these organizations. Why? Because your influence depends on it. Your impact depends on it and your income depends on it. You need to know this. So when you have to go up for a raise or a new job, you can sit in that seat and say, this is what I do. And this is how I do it. And this is how well it's done. And you can feel secure in that. Why? Because it's the truth. It's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Because we're not about shrinking around here. We are about owning what we do and how we do it. Why? Because you work too hard to get to this point and let less qualified people who ain't got an ounce of the skills you do or the ounce of the drive that you do come in and take your place because you're too concerned about being you got to think about everybody else. What I'm saying is that when you're so aware of everybody else that is causing you to not operate in your full potential and it's causing you to shrink and it's causing you to play small so everybody else can feel comfortable. No, ma'am. Absolutely not. When you talk about your experience, you will not say, oh, I just. Look, if you are one of my clients who will never put, oh, I just did. Who just did what? Just shouldn't even be in your vocabulary when you are talking about what you've done. Absolutely not. You cannot operate in your career like you just starting out. You're not new to this. No, it's different. When you are just starting out, you might have to compromise and bend and be more understanding because you're trying to get your skills, you're trying to get your foot in the door. Get it. Okay. But it comes to a point where it's time to start reaping off what you've built. You've sown seeds all your career. You have had to stay in environments where you was like, child, I don't know how, but you had to stay there because you were building something. Something had to be built. You're like, you know what? I gotta do this so I can X, Y, and Z. I went through it. Just gotta do what you gotta do because you were on your way up. But friend, you're there. What is all of this? I still gotta know. You have receipts, you have successes, you've made the impact. Now you're ready to take that impact to the next level. What's the problem? Why are you not expecting to reap off of what you've done? No, you are not starting over. Every time you go to a new position, you are not starting over. You are building on something. So don't show up as if you are starting from scratch. Remember, they hired you. Out of all the people that applied for this position, they hired you. Why? Because they fully believe that you could do the job. This is not the time to shrink. This is the time to show up and build. This is not the time to show up and prove because you can't prove and build at the same time. And even if there are some aspects of the job that you are not 100% sure in, friend, you always bounce back. You know how to solve a problem. You know how to find the resources if you need it. Because remember, you've worked in environments to where you had minimum resources and you exceeded expectations. How much more now? Again, you're not new to this. You've done this repeatedly. You did not get to this point by luck. You did not get to this point by chance. You got here because you brought value to the table. And a lot of times, you even brought more value than the one who was over you. It was a lot of times you've had to even shrink under people over you. So let's not act like this is new. Is this a new role? Is this a new level? Sure. But the value that you bring is not new. So I want you to own it. And you will never feel the accomplishments, the success, or even the confidence that you want if you do not start owning what you've already done. You feel like I don't have as much confidence as I feel like I should. So you keep trying to chase new things, thinking that if I do something new, that is going to make me feel confident. No, what makes you feel confident is you being able to own what you've already done. Own it. That's what makes you feel sure because you know that you always rise, you always bounce back. If there's a problem, you're going to solve it. And I want you guys to even think about what's next for you because what's next for you may not always be a new job. It may be a new job, but sometimes what's next for you, so what is the next level of impact that I want to make? Or the next area that I want to grow in, or the next set of boundaries that I need to set, or the next time that I need to make time to think about what it is that I want. Whatever you think about is what's next, right? I want you to understand that when you're thinking about what's next, it can't just be about you thinking about one aspect of your life. I want you to think about how does your whole life affect that next for you? Because that is what it's about. It's about you being able to create success that feels good as it looks. Because a lot of the clients that I work with, baby, from the outside, you look good. You're on the right path from the outside. But from the inside, something is off and it's been off for a long time. So I got clients who can tell you if you work with me, we will get to the root of things. No, I am not a life coach. But what I am is somebody who wants you to thrive in all areas of your life, who wants you to experience success in a way to where you can experience success and know that you did not compromise, that you held true to your values, that once you reach that success or that goal, it did not come at the cost of your husband. It did not have to come at the cost of your family, of your friends, of yourself. That's what I am about. You being able to have a level of success to where, like the old saying, where you can sleep good at night. So if you want to call that a life coach, career coach, executive coach, what call it whatever you need to call it. But if you need somebody in your corner who's going to remind you of what you said that you wanted and who's going to hold you to your values and your needs. If you work with me before, you know that it is an investment to work with me. Not because I think I'm all that, but because I know the value that I add. And you should too. But if you want to work with me in this way, you can send me a DM. I don't think anything that I say is new, but I know that I say a lot of stuff that should be said that's not said. And that's why I really have a heart to work with women leaders. Love, love, love what I do. Pastor's wife, very involved in my church. And so this is why I talk a lot about growth. I talk a lot about having core values. I talk about a lot of these things because this is just who I am. And so I enjoyed my time here with you guys. And until next time,